Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So this is another video in our Not Nostalgic series where we cover games in that middle range of like late 360, early PS4, Xbox One era, or older games that people don't really talk too much about. This one is about Ryse, Son of Rome. The game Ryse, Son of Rome dropped alongside the Xbox One back in 2013, and it was developed by Crytek, best known for their Crysis series, and it is a bit of a relic of a bygone era, where games were more concerned with being games than movies and were more straightforward. Does that mean that it's any good? Well, I decided to play it 12 years too late in order to find out. I recall watching a demo for this game during E3, which featured the storming of the beach scene, and genuinely being blown away by what I was seeing. The graphics were amazing, the action called back to Saving Private Ryan as the main character, Marius Titus, attempted to advance toward the enemy and take control of the situation, all while his comrades were dropping beside him either from arrows or enormous flaming rocks. I thought to myself, I cannot wait to play that game. But it turns out I could wait, because it has been more than a decade before I actually got around to playing it. What I found when I finally did play it was a pulse-pounding, ultra-violent and bloody Roman myth that was a lot of fun, but also bordered on overstaying its welcome. I feel like Ryse and the PlayStation launch title The Order 1886, which I also intend to make a video on, both fall into the category of tech showcases, games that were meant to show consumers what these next-gen consoles were really capable of. In that regard, Ryse was a success. Comparing this to later 360 games, the graphics are a step up. However, the gameplay leaves a lot to be desired. For the first 2 hours of the 8 or so hour campaign, I found myself thoroughly enjoying Ryse, thinking that maybe people were too harsh on it. IGN gave it a 6.8, and Metacritic has it rated as a 60 out of 100 based on critic reviews. Early on, the main character suffers the loss of his family and is offered all of the blood that he can handle as revenge. He then proceed to cut a swath through Britannia, laying waste to the tribes of ancient Britain. The story is told through flashbacks. You begin by protecting the Roman Empire Nero during an attack on the city by the tribes that you had been fighting in the other sections of the game. Marius tells Nero about his adventures and reveals over the course of the story that he knows Nero had his family killed, and as such, Marius is here to serve as a spirit of Damocles, to stop his reign of terror. Also, this is not the Damocles from the Sword of Damocles' tale, though you kind of serve a similar function. Instead of the sword metaphorically hanging over kings' heads as they try to rule, you serve as a threat of a vengeful spirit who will rise from the dead and kill unworthy leaders. Anyways, Nero and his two sons, Basilius and Commodus, serve as the ultimate antagonists of the game, as they've brought down Rome by waging wars and inflicting great cruelty on their enemies, which of course leads to them taking revenge in the city being attacked. Also, what would a myth be without the influence of the gods? As Aquilo, the god of the northern wind, has been serving as an advisor to Nero and his family, while putting the pieces in place for the fall of Rome all along the way. Basically, making them give in to their worst impulses and bringing about the cruelty that I mentioned earlier. However, the goddess Summer believes in Rome and ends up resurrecting Marius so that he can get his vengeance and save the city. So all in all, Nero was a real emperor and a real son of a bitch, according to history, but the rest of this game is complete fiction. But as they say, don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. For a video game, I do feel like Ryse, Son of Rome has a decent story. Like I said, for the first half of this game, I was loving it. But ultimately, the combat does get extremely repetitive. There are only a few types of enemies that you're going to face, and the mechanic behind regaining health includes a quick time event for executions. When you execute an enemy, you can choose if you replenish your health, earn extra experience, or add to your focus, which is a bullet time function that allows you to slow down time in order to deal tons of damage to mostly defenseless enemies. I primarily use this to regain health because, on the one hand, I'm someone who panics if I lose health, and on the other, if you screw up your blocks, you can get low health fairly quickly. After the 100th time of cutting an enemy's arm off, and then stabbing them or cutting their throats, it's less awe-inspiring and more like, okay, let's get this over with. That kind of goes for most of the combat in this game. You quickly learn how to combat the main types of enemies, and then you just fight them over and over and over again. Because the combat's so repetitive, I did manage to get an achievement for not taking any damage while killing 25 enemies, a feat that only 4.96% of gamers have managed to accomplish. So that's something at least. In fact, if you like achievements, this is a huge selling point for the game. You'll be racking them up. I got 755 gamer score just casually playing through the storyline for this video. So this game is not going to blow anyone away these days. However, it's currently $3.49 on Steam or $3.99 on Xbox, or it's included with Game Pass, which is how I played it. From that point of view, you could spend 8 hours playing much worse games for a lot more money. I think what really held this game back when it was released is its focus on style over substance. People wanted to be blown away by the next-gen consoles, and I'm sure that they were blown away by the presentation, but the action wasn't anything like God of War or Bayonetta weren't already doing before this game even came out. So I can see why people who purchased it at full price ended up being a bit disappointed. I do believe that this would have served as a solid foundation for a bigger game in the future. I really haven't seen too many games set in this period outside of like Assassin's Creed or strategy games. I think that if there had been a sequel, it could have really built off of what was already there and maybe had more of an open world as the game industry started to shift toward those types of titles during this era. The fact that we never got a sequel and at this point we're never going to is a bit sad, but I do think that a 6 out of 10 is low for this game, especially now with the super low price it's available at. So, what do you think? Have you played Ryse Son of Rome? Did you pick it up when it first came out? Or are you like me and incredibly late to the party? Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments. And if there's any other games of this, ilk that you want me to cover, let me know. Thank you so much for checking out this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please subscribe. We also have our Those Fake Nerds channel, which is gaming and pop culture news, as well as our Wicked Good Sports channel, which is sports news, and our podcasting channel, Better Radio, and our newest channel, The Blindsiders, which is covering the television show Survivor. So check all of those out, and I will see you in the next one.